Hi everybody, my name's Bronson with the Epoxy Resin Store, and I'm about to show you 3 marble techniques that you can do at home that will make your work look outstanding. Make sure you watch to the end. I'm going to show you some embellishments that are going to take your work to the next level. All right, today we're using super gloss that's been pre-tinted white. Having your epoxy pre-tinted white makes your life so much easier. I've been building countertops for a long time, and to be able to have your epoxy just mixed and ready to go, and you just add your effects in, it's going to save you time. It's going to give you more working time. It's also going to help you have a beautiful replication because your white will stay consistent throughout your pour. All right, our first step is we're going to mix our epoxy. I've got my trusty mixing cup here. Now, when you're deciding how much epoxy you need, the formula is 3 ounces per square foot. This little 1x1 board, so I'm just going to go with 6 ounces to have a little bit extra, but you know the drill. All right, we're going to grab our mixing cup here. Super gloss is mixed at a 1-to-1 ratio, so I'm going to pour that in and we're ready to go. I like to start with the B first and the A second, and then we're ready to go. Let me switch this around, come in here. All right, we're going to pour this out evenly. Pour out my B first. And I'm going to grab my A portion. Measure that out carefully. So the most common errors I see when I'm working with other people and helping them with something that went wrong with epoxy is 2 things in general. First is improper mix ratios. Super gloss is real easy to use because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. But make sure you're getting it as close to those ratios as possible. Make sure you're hitting your lines exactly, and you'll have a really good result. The second and more biggest offender is people fail to mix their epoxy. They just have a lack of patience. You want to really make sure that you have your epoxy thoroughly mixed, and that way you ensure yourself a good result every time. As I mix, I'm scraping the sides of my container as I go, and I'm also hitting the bottom. And I want a real thorough mix. I just take my sweet time. Some of you guys are using drills out there with paddle attachments. Go ahead and turn that drill speed down to 1 rather than 2, and just have a nice, slow, and consistent mix until you have the thing completely integrated and mixed with both parts. A and B mixed thoroughly together so you don't have any issues. All right, so what I've got here is a piece of MDF board. It's been coated with just bonding primer. You can buy it at any big box store. We've got our white super gloss. I'm going to just spread it out evenly across the surface of our piece here, getting us ready for our marble replication. Nice. I like to use my hands, just taking the edge to edge and just moving that all the way out. Look how beautiful that epoxy is laying out. All right, now that I've got the epoxy laid out, I'm going to use the torch. Going to give it a quick torch over the top just so we have a clean surface to work with. Just like that. Now I'm going to grab my chip brush, just your standard 2-inch, you can get anywhere, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to dip it in the epoxy so that it is ready to go. So I'm not pulling material off my board when I use it. First color I'm going with is called Coastal Gray. When you're using spray paints in it, I like Rust-Oleum. Make sure you go with a satin or gloss finish for your best results. This one's Coastal Gray. It gives really nice effects when it comes to the marbling. This is a Carrara marble replication. All right, make sure that your spray paint is thoroughly mixed up. I'm going to spray a little here off my work piece that I'm going to use to work with. Just make a little puddle on the plastic right there. I've got my chip brush with the epoxy on it. Get a little bit more. I'm just going to dab it into my epoxy. See, that's actually quite a lot. So I'm going to go off where there isn't any and just tap a little bit of that out. You see I've lightened that up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly drag my brush through the epoxy. I like to start with a lighter effect first rather than a darker one, because I can always add more epoxy, but I can't take it away as well. So you can see our very first swipe, we've got a very beautiful marbling effect. I still have a little on there, so I'm going to go ahead and keep tapping this. It gives it a wispy, smoke-like look that many of my clients have asked for over the years, and so we're just going to do that. Now, something to be careful of when you're putting this in, make sure you're actually kind of dragging through the resin. Don't hop like this, you'll end up looking like a bunny rabbit. Hop through your piece. You see we're selling out quite nice. I'm gonna add just a little bit more on the edge here. And I'm gonna come down here and add a little bit darker colors in with it as well. And what I've found is that the more less straight lines that you have, the more natural looking it looks. I'm leaving a lot of negative space here and letting that work. So I really like this coastal gray. You can get variations. If I take just a little bit more, it almost looks like a charcoal gray here. See what I did there is I create a little darker vein than here with the wisp. And then I can take it and add in some highlights. I just want a little bit darker here. And I'm doing this all with the same color, which is fun. Just like that. As you can see, we've got the variations in that. And if we want to add a little bit different color, I'm going to grab my smoke gray, which whenever you're doing marbles, if you can get a couple or three colors that are very close to each other and marble them in, it's going to add depth and dimension. So I'm going to add a little smoke gray into this one. So once again, I'm going to make sure that my spray paint is shaken up very well. And I'm going to give it a little squirt there. And if you can see, we're just about a shade off from the coastal gray, but it's just enough that when I put this in and it levels out, it will give us a nice effect. So I'm just going to get the corner edge of my brush that I'm going to get in so I can just dab on lightly the highlight effects into my veins. All right, I got a little there. I'm going to dab it out. And I'm just going to add a little of this other color. I'm just lightly, as you can see, just touching it through there, just like that. Just a little to bring that through. I'm not going to worry about this darkness. It's going to flow for a second. We're going to touch that up in just a moment here. So, and I don't put it everywhere. I kind of look for spots to highlight. We got it through the center vein here, and I think I'll just put a little in heavy down on this bottom just for some extra flavor. If you have a little line like this that you, like I just did where I dragged across my piece and it's light, just take your finger, put it in the little epoxy, tap it out just like that, and it'll flow out very beautifully. It'll look natural. All right, simple as that. So the final step to this piece, other than the embellishments that I'm going to show you at the end, is if you want to touch this up, let's see how I've got these lines right here. See how I've kind of got this line right here? I don't love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mixer that I had before, I'm going to break it at an angle like this so it's off the piece. I'm going for this little tip right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pointed end, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to drag it through my resin along that piece right there. Then I'm going to come off the board, start off the board, and I'm going to end off the board. I'm going to do it one more time here, and then I'm going to come through the main vein right here just to drag some continuance through. I'm kind of just twisting and turning. I'm not worrying too heavily about the line that's being left because that will flow out with the resin. And you know, I'm really liking the way this piece looks right here. So I'm going to leave it put just like that, which means I'm going to grab my torch, give it one last final torch. And you've got a beautiful marble replication. All right, for our second effect, it's a lot like our first effect. I've already put the epoxy on this pre-primed board. I'm going to torch it out real quick. And the biggest difference is in the way that we apply our color down. All right, with this technique, we're going to have a lot of negative space, or a lot of the white's going to stay showing, not covered up with any kind of color in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the full edge of this brush here that we're going to drag along in a straight line like this, and all these little hundreds of strands of your brush are going to make these beautiful veins that fall out, but they stay in a pretty straight line. I've had people who don't want it real cloudy looking, they want a lot of negative space, a lot of white showing. This technique works really well for it. Same two colors again. We're going to start with our coastal gray and then move to our smoke gray. Once again, remember to shake your spray paint up really, really well. I'm going to start here. I've got a smaller. My paintbrush has already got epoxy from our last board we made, so I don't need to touch that up. But rather than smearing it around, I'm going straight up and down on it. So I'm just right there on that. I'm gonna tap a little bit out, and this is gonna create more straight lines. So I'm just gonna come straight in. I'm gonna turn it here, but we're kind of playing follow the leader with our brush pattern. And I'm gonna come off the board just like that. And you can see how that gives us a more straight line. And I'm gonna come in here again, and we're gonna come off the board and follow the leader. I'm just dragging it through. And I'm gonna come bring it back up here and off our board just like that. Tap again. We're gonna do one that comes up here, follows this pattern, and then breaks completely off just like that. So you can see we've still got a lot of our negative white space here. And I'm gonna do one more, I think. Right here, we're gonna kind of come up close to this one, break hard again, just like that. All right, so this next, you can see the lines are nice and straight here. We're gonna add our secondary color, which is our smoke gray. Once again, we're gonna mix up our spray paint can real good, the Rattler can. Give me a couple sprays right there. And I'm just gonna run this through a couple of them, so we're gonna add. I'm really gonna take a lot of that off. I'm gonna repeat the first vinegar. I'm gonna try my best just to stay right on top of it. And drag that through lightly. And off again, adding our secondary color in. And once again, and I'm gonna come off this little circular one here we got. And I'm just gonna lightly make contact with the epoxy, try and follow the previous line and come off. And what that's done is add us a couple of different shades in here. And let's say you liked it, but you want to move it. You could always pick your board up and give it a little tilt and move your lines however you want. Spreads them out, gives them a little softness as well. I like those like there. So I really like that board, how it's at right now. So I'm gonna take this torch. I'm gonna give it a quick torch and leave it just like that. All right, for this final effect, I've got the cup we were using previously. It's still got a little epoxy in it, and I've mixed up some fresh epoxy. We're not gonna use a brush at all. We're gonna be using our hands in this one. It's dirty. It's our dirty pour. You're gonna like that. So starting out, we're gonna take the remainder that's in this cup. It doesn't take very much of this at all. That's plenty right there. I'm gonna set this cup aside because we're gonna end up reusing it. And I'm gonna grab the stick we've been stirring with, and I'm just gonna use the edge of it. And I'm gonna skim this whole board and just get epoxy all over it. This is gonna help me for the next step of the process that we're gonna do when I'm putting the epoxy down, so that it flows nice and evenly and gives us a nice effect. Epoxy really hates flowing over dry stuff, so we try and make sure we got a nice wet surface for it to work over. Look at that, we've got a perfect one. That's just fine right there. Not worried about these little globs or anything, because that's gonna just help us out a ton. Now I've got the epoxy that we mixed up before, and I've got a red Solo cup here. Any cup will do. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the epoxy. We're not gonna pour it all out. I'm gonna pour a little bit in, just like that. And then I'm going to take the three colors I've chosen this time. I'm gonna use a charcoal gray. I'm gonna go with the coastal gray. And just for a little extra fun, we're gonna throw in a Tropics gloss, which is a turquoisey color. I know it doesn't occur naturally in nature, but I don't care. So we're gonna take this. We're gonna give a couple squirts of that right in there. I'm gonna take our charcoal gray. I'm gonna do a couple squirts of that in there. Then I'm gonna take our Tropics gloss, do a couple squirts of that in there, and it starts to look something like that. All right, we're gonna take our epoxy. Gonna put another fresh layer in. I'm gonna go with my colors again. Layer once more. Colors again. And then I'm going to take the remainder of my epoxy, I'm going to pour that out, covering up all the color I just put in this cup. Now the very last thing I'm going to do, and this part's important in the step, I'm going to take this and I'm going to give it like 1.5, maybe a half a turn, just enough to kind of blend the epoxy and the colors together. You don't want to mix it all up so that it's one color. So I'm going to take this, and 1.5 is just fine, just like that for me. And if you want to take a second, you can see how it lays out. All right, now I've got my cup here. I'm going to pour it out. I like to follow a pattern and then lay it down next to it so that I have this natural look. So when you're pouring, you're going to start off the board, come on the board, and then come off the board again. And I'm just going to kind of stick with that theme as I follow this through. As you can see, it comes out of the cup, already comes separated out into the different colors, and it looks really, really nice. Gives you some nice final effects. Now, I'm not going to pour it off. I like to keep a little bit there. I'm going to let that set to the bottom of this. Now I'm just going to take my hand, and I'm just going to lightly come across, but I'm going to follow the same pattern that I followed when I laid it down. And I'm just going to move this epoxy so it lays just out, just like that. I'll tell you what, this effect, people love this. You can try different colors, different patterns. You can really play with this to come up with lots of different looks and feels. But it's really the same pour, just over and over again. Just like that. So you see we got these little spots where it hasn't come together. Just take your finger, tap it together so there's no dry spots, and let it go. So just like that, our third pour is our dirty pour for our marbles. We added in a little blue this time. I'm liking the way that's looking, so I'm going to hit that real quickly with the torch. All right, remember guys, we left a little bit extra in here for some extras. This is settled out now and has muted a little down here, and I want to add a little extra character. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pour right off. I'm going to make it a real slow, small, steady stream, and I'm going to pour in the same direction as we had before, and I'm going to create these vein effects that really complement the way this looks. It looks like some natural cracks. You can see I'm going real thin on some of these. Trick is to keep your hand moving so you have a consistent look to it. I'm going to come up and I'm going to bring another one here. Let it start coming out. There, it adds a little flavor for us. And these won't mix like these other ones had, and we'll add a little, I'm going to come across here just like this too and create a contrasting crack. You may hate that, you may love it, we'll find out. But then it just adds a little character, a little flavor into your fake stone. All right guys, let me know which one you like best. If you like the dirty pour look, the Calcutta look, or the Carrara marble look best. Let me know in the comments below. All right guys, thank you so much for watching this far in the video. If you've enjoyed it, if it's had value to you, if you found it interesting and entertaining, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you know when we have new content available. And for those of you who stuck around this far in the video, I have a little something extra, some bonus material just for you. All right, starting out, what we're gonna do, we're gonna embellish this Carrara marble piece that we just made with a metallic shiny gold. I particularly like the bright shiny finish Rust-Oleum metallic. When it comes to gold, they have a lot of different colors and shades. This one is a bright, very gold-like. It doesn't have the brown kind of muted look. It's a brighter, more shiny color. And so we're gonna embellish this one using this color. Okay, the first step of this is we're gonna take another mixing stick and we're gonna break it kind of at an angle. And what I want is a really sharp point here. So I'm gonna take this one and break it off again. And I want that point right there. That's what I'm gonna work with. So next we're going to take our metallic. We're going to shake it up really good. I'm going to put this close to the table and I'm going to spray it onto my stick just like that. And this metallic tends to float right on the top, so we don't want to put too much to start with. You know, it seems like a pretty good amount. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to drag along just like this. And as I do it, it's pulling just the littlest bit of the metallic gold off there and leaving it there. You're going to see a vein just like that. And the key with embellishments is they're just that. I don't want too much. I just want a little here, a little there. So I'm gonna put a little in this right here. And then I think I'll do a little more gold just up here. I'm gonna go for some more. I'm just gonna go through this. I want this to be a little bit more clumpy and noticeable. So I'm gonna do it just like this and pull it through. Then I'm gonna let it flow. And that's it, just the littlest, teeniest bits of gold flecks that are in there, just to really embellish it and add a little flavor to it, like a jalapeno. So now that I'm done, I'm gonna take it and I'm going to just give it one quick once over with a torch, and I'm gonna leave it alone just like that. And then as the light hits it, or different angles, you'll get these reflections of the gold off, and it really pops. All right, we're gonna go with silver this time. For the silvers, I like the Montana Black brand with the silver chrome look. Shake it up real good, just like before. I'm gonna give me a little spray right on my stick, and we're gonna take it and we're just gonna drag it just through the vein. So this one's gonna have a silver vein rather than a gold vein, and that should add a whole different look to it. So I'm going real thin, not a ton, less is more oftentimes. We're gonna let that go. I'm gonna hit this again, and we're gonna come up here and we're gonna go a little heavier so we have a little accent. Then I'm gonna come over here with a little of the side of my stick, bring a little bit more in. I'm not gonna go the whole length of it this time. Let it go just like that. And as quickly as that, I've now embellished this with silver. I actually embellished it with a little bit of gold overspray from here as well. So let that be a lesson to you. All right, for the green one, I think I'm gonna go with a little gold. The blue actually came out, it looks a little more green to me. Green and gold go together really well, so I'm gonna set that right there. Move this out of the way, and we're gonna take this, I'm gonna follow the extra lines that we had previously put in. Bring that across just like that, drag and come off. I'm a little thicker here than I want, so I'm just gonna take my stick and I'm gonna drag it through back and forth a couple of times just to break that up. Just like that, let that flow out. Add a little more paint to myself. We're gonna drag this little line just like this, the crossover. And then I'm just gonna do just a little bit right here. What I like to do is follow the lines and the patterns that are down, that we've already set down, and let it do its thing. Let's just do a little bit more here since we're doing our thing. And just like that, those simple embellishments will make all your friends and family go, ooh, for your marble replications. Thank you so much for watching these 3 marble replications that you can do at home. Let us know what you want to learn next, and we'll be excited to share with you. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching.